Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to today's PADA webinar on experience-driven travel, trends and insights on what APAC travelers are truly seeking in 2025 and beyond with our partner, Tripadvisor. Before we begin, first let me introduce myself. My name is Paul Brangan. I am the Director of Communications, Marketing, and Communications at the Pacific Asia Travel Association, and I will be your host for today. Now, before we get into the webinar, let me just share one quick housekeeping note with everyone here today. I know many of you are familiar with Zoom, but just a reminder, if you have any questions for our speaker, please do submit any questions using the Q&A function as shown on your screen at the bottom of your browser. If you have any questions, please do not submit them in the chat function, but in the Q&A. For the chat, feel free to engage with other participants, say hello, but please do submit your questions using the Q&A function as shown below. And now, without further ado, let me introduce our Chief Executive Officer here at PADA to give his welcome remarks. Please welcome Mr. Noor Ahmad Hamid. Noor, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Paul. Greetings to everyone joining us from around the world. I know that people are still coming in, logging in. I hope the numbers will grow. But of course, to me, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you today to our webinar on experience-driven travel, trends and insights on what APAC travelers are truly seeking in 2025 and beyond. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to our esteemed strategic partner, Tripadvisor, for making this session possible. And Tripadvisor, as one of the most world-trusted travel platform, they continues to set the benchmark for understanding travelers' behavior and intent. Their partnership enables PATA to bring timely, data-driven insights to our members and tourism stakeholders across the Asia-Pacific region and beyond, and help us all better understand how travelers' motivation are evolving in this rapidly changing world. Across the Asia-Pacific region, of course, travelers today are seeking far more than just the normal sightseeing. They want authenticity, connection, and purpose. Cultural immersion, impactful local engagement, and personal well-being have become the new cornerstone of travel decisions for today. These shifting expectations are reshaping how destinations and tourism businesses must think, plan, and deliver their experiences. Today's webinar will explore this evolving motivation in depth, drawing on exclusive Tripadvisor's data and insights. Together, we will uncover important key trends that shape travel behavior, highlight emerging opportunities, and discuss practical strategies to engage a new generation of purpose-driven explorers. Lastly, before we begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Scott Wegener, Director for Asia Pacific at the Tripadvisor, who will be joining us and sharing their valuable perspective. His insights, Scott, he's been long in the industry, will be instrumental in helping our members and all of you today, especially industry professionals, to make informed and forward-looking decisions. And to all of you who have taken the time to be here to join us, thank you. I hope today's presentation and discussion will not only grant you new perspective on the future of travel, but inspire you to help shape it as well. On that note, thank you, and back to Paul.
Thank you very much, Noor. And without further ado, please welcome to the webinar the Director at APAC, Director for APAC at Tripadvisor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Scott Wegener. Scott? Over to you.
Hello. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Noor. I will just share my screen. Okay, Paul, are we all good?
Yep, looks great.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like you all, if you will, I can't see you, so I'm not sure if you're going to do this or not, but if you can close your eyes and just visualize this story that I'm about to tell. So picture a family from Singapore stepping off a long-tail boat onto Koh Phangan's narrow docks in southern Thailand. They're not here just for the beaches or the night markets. They've come to a small fishing village where for 3 days they'll live with local families. Every morning they rise before sunrise to join the fishermen, casting nets and lines into the beautiful turquoise waters. In the afternoons, the kids play with the local children, and the parents help to cook spicy, aromatic seafood stir-fries using that day's catch and herbs from the garden. Evenings are spent on the wooden jetty with local families, listening to the tide lap around them and hearing stories of the sea passed down through the generations. They'll go home with recipes and photographs, but more importantly, they'll return with a deeper understanding of resilience, community, and the slow rhythms of life in rural Thailand. This search for meaning and transformation is what's reshaping travel in 2025 and beyond. It's no longer just a trip. It's a postcard for the soul. Okay. Hopefully you're all able to visualize that scene as I was talking to it. Let me start again. Good afternoon again, esteemed colleagues. It is a privilege to be presenting to PATA members today who are some of the most talented and passionate people in travel. Today, I want to talk about a shift that's redefining our industry. Leisure travel is no longer just about buying holidays, flights, hotel stays, itineraries. It's about seeking inner journeys. So what is experience-driven travel in 2025? Well, it's a shift from passive sightseeing to active engagement. It's about immersing yourself in the local way of life, forging connections with people, and truly understanding a place's essence. Say goodbye to rushed itineraries, crowded bus tours, and shallow checklists. Say hello to slow travel. Savoring moments, learning new skills, and developing a deep appreciation for the place that you're visiting. I love using acronyms. So there's one that I want to share with you today that I think perfectly describes the key aspects of experiential travel from a traveler perspective. P is for personalization. Travelers are looking to curate an itinerary that aligns with their interests. Example, if they're passionate about arts and crafts and they're visiting Cambodia, they might want to take a pottery class in Siem Reap. Or they love cooking and they're visiting Vietnam, so they might enjoy a home-cooked meal as part of a Hanoi home cooking class. Or they love adventure and they're visiting Sri Lanka, so they might do a wildlife trek while they're in Yala National Park. Or they love sports, they're passionate about sports. They're visiting Melbourne, Australia, so they book a guided tour at the most famous sporting stadium in the world, the Melbourne Cricket Ground. I had to drop that one in because I'm obviously I'm Australian. So that's personalization. A is for authenticity. Travelers are looking for experiences that are true to the local culture, not simply tourist-driven replicas. They're seeking real culture, real rituals, real people, not just staged for Instagram moments. L is for local interaction. Travelers want to engage with local people. They want to learn from local artisans, participate in local festivals, or volunteer in a community project. Even a simple chat over chai. And S is for sensory immersion. Travelers are looking to engage all of their senses. Taste a spicy chili crab in Singapore. Listen to local folk music in Hue, Vietnam. Inhale the aromas of the old Delhi spice market. See and maybe even wear vibrant kimonos in Kyoto. And touch and feel batik handmade crafts in Indonesia. Travel is now lived, not just watched. A transformation is taking place, as I said. Travel used to be about collecting places. Example, the picture on the left of the young ladies in front of the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. Pose for the selfie, click, take the photo, on to the next place. Now it's about collecting moments. The picture on the right of the couple enjoying a shared meal with locals at a hawker centre in Singapore. Asia Pacific travellers today are prioritising destinations that offer immersive, passion-driven experiences, from culinary adventures and wellness retreats to cultural festivals and nature escapes. Iconic landmarks alone no longer drive decision-making. Destinations have to showcase the full spectrum of experiences that they offer, mixing adventure, learning, healing, and celebration. It's a paradigm shift from I was there to I was changed there. So let's switch around a little bit and look at some quantitative data. What are the numbers telling us? The global experiential travel market size is already valued at $250 billion and is expected to nearly double in the next 7 years. There's different numbers around on kind of experiential travel, but the numbers that I'm using today are based on paid bookable tours and experiences, not doesn't include a lot of the ancillary revenue that can sometimes be included. So APAC currently makes up approximately 30% of the global number right now, but is expected to witness the fastest growth in this category during this next 7-year period and will surge to closer to 40%, which means around $75 billion now and potentially $188 billion by 2032. That's more than double in 7 years. That means millions more experiences booked, hosted, and reviewed. No one in this webinar can afford to treat experiential travel as a trend. It's the new norm, and the momentum is not slowing. So let's get a traveler perspective. Based on our most recent Tripadvisor global user survey, 85% of travelers globally say experiences and activities are a key and intentional part of their travel budget. 84% actively prioritize experiences while they're actually traveling. These numbers have been steadily increasing in our surveys over the past 5 years. Experiences have moved from nice to have into the essential component of travel spend. Focusing on APAC, the story is even stronger. APAC travellers recorded the highest responses to the 2 questions on prioritising on-trip experiences, 91% and 92% versus the global average of 85 and 84 on the previous slide. APAC travellers are now the world's most experience-focused travel audience. So why is this shift accelerating fastest in APAC, and what's fueling the growth? Firstly, the pandemic rewired priorities. Travel is no longer a given, it's a privilege. Travellers value health, connection, and meaning more than ever before. Secondly, digital fatigue is real. More and more people are getting screen burnout. I'll put my hand up for that one. They hunger for tactile, face-to-face connection, experiences, and in-person human memories on their travels. And third, the middle class is growing fast. Yes, globally, but particularly in this region. Rising disposable income plus global exposure is making experiential travel mainstream, accessible, and expected. Asia Pacific's outbound travel market is the largest globally in terms of number of trips booked, with the region projected to book over 300 million outbound trips in 2025. That's a 22.6% annual increase from 2024, which outpaces all other regions worldwide. These forces together aren't just changing travel destinations, they're changing the very DNA of the traveller. So who exactly are these travellers? Well, look no further than Gen Z and millennials. The younger generations of millennials and Gen Z are the fastest growing constituency of the middle class, driven by urbanisation, rising education levels, and digital connectivity. In APAC, millennials and Gen Z currently account for around 60% of the middle class and represent around 25% of the population. So they really over-index in that middle class. Their economic influence is profound. By 2030, young generations of Gen Z and millennials will contribute a majority of consumer spending and drive the growth of the region's middle class. And just a reminder for those of you that are kind of trying to remember in your heads, what age groups are we talking about here with Gen Z and millennials? As of 2025, Gen Zs are aged between 13 to 28, and millennials are aged between 29 to 44. So with respect to kind of travel decision-making and preferences, we're looking at that kind of 18 to 44 age group. So continuing the focus on Gen Z and millennials, our research shows that they are more inclined to spend on experiences over products compared to their generational peers. They're actively seeking experiences that provide meaningful, unique travel adventures and that allow them to immerse themselves in the culture and live like a local. In our research, 84% said they prefer off the beaten path destinations, and 79% said they'd love to partake in a day in the life of a local in the destination that they're visiting. These are a generation wired for experiences, not just transactions. Again, Gen Z and millennials have a high propensity to plan and book their activities ahead of travel. APAC, Gen Z and millennials, again, similar to some of the over slides, over-index, significantly over-index actually, at 60% compared to the global average of 46% when it comes to the question, have you booked or do you plan to book on-trip activities ahead of your next trip? Brands who can offer easy, unique, and engaging bookable experiences stand to win with this lucrative, always planning generation. So now I'd like to dive in and share some APAC destination insights based on user behavior on the Tripadvisor website. Just a reminder that approximately 250 million unique users come to Tripadvisor globally each month, and around 35 million of those are from APAC markets. So it's a very large and rich data set. I'm going to start with APAC outbound traveler insights. So this is APAC users on Tripadvisor looking at outbound destinations outside of the country where they're based. And not just destinations, but also attractions. So the top 10 APAC destinations viewed by APAC Tripadvisor users between January to September 2025. You can see the list here. The top 5 is Japan, Thailand, China, Indonesia, and Vietnam. What I did want to call out is that the ones that are seeing the biggest year-on-year percentage increase in terms of APAC outbound travelers' interest in the destination, Japan, China, Vietnam, and South Korea. They've really climbed up the rankings this year compared to their position last year. And that indicates for us at Tripadvisor a desire for APAC outbound travelers to look for destinations that have some really unique cultural nuance. And I'll touch on that a bit more later. I did just want to drill down a little bit further because obviously APAC is a very large market. It's a very diverse market. It's made up of a lot of different countries. So I thought it might be helpful to kind of break down the information that was on the previous slide and look at it based on our top 7 APAC source markets. So this is what we see here for each of those 7 source markets along the top that are highlighted in blue, the top 5 destinations for Tripadvisor users in those destinations. The destinations highlighted in yellow are the ones that are trending up most based on year-on-year growth. So Thailand has jumped to #1 destination for Indians and is surging in interest for Japan, South Korea, and China travelers. Vietnam is trending up significantly for Japanese, Australian, South Korean, and Thai travelers. China is slowly returning to pre-COVID popularity, particularly for South Korean, Singaporean, and Thai travelers. And Indonesia is gaining in popularity with Japan and China travelers. I think the interesting thing to point out is that overall, a number of APAC destinations have increased in popularity for APAC travelers at the expense of European or American destinations. We believe that this shift is heavily influenced by a mix of geopolitical, practical, cultural, and experiential motivations. APAC travelers are seeking destinations and experiences that offer connection, meaning, and authenticity, while also remaining accessible, safe, and value-focused. And then just quickly, if we remove the APAC destinations and we just focus on the top 10 international destinations for APAC travelers outside of APAC, here's the top 10 list. The top 5, actually, there hasn't been much movement there. United States, United Kingdom, Italy, France, and Spain are typically the top 5. But it is worth pointing out that there are some new additions to this list. The UAE, Turkey, and Greece. Again, the theory is that those 3 destinations offer a distinctly unique culture and range of experiences, and that this feeds into this appetite for immersive, culturally driven experiences, and is why some of these destinations are definitely trending up for APAC users on Tripadvisor. This is now looking at, as rather than destinations, looking at the top 10 APAC attractions viewed on Tripadvisor by APAC users. I'm not going to go through each of them one by one, but I think that the important thing here to note is that it's very much centered around outdoor, nature, amusement parks, neighborhoods, and landmarks. Pre-COVID, this list was dominated by shopping destinations and beaches. So we have seen a very marked shift in the type of attractions that APAC outbound travelers are looking for. Now looking at APAC inbound travel trends. So this is non-APAC based audience looking at APAC destinations. So basically an international audience looking at APAC between January to September 2025. So the top 10 APAC destinations viewed by non-APAC or international travelers. Again, you can see the list. The top 5 is Thailand, the Maldives, Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam. The major year-on-year movers on this list are Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. Just touching on some of these and some of the reasoning that we believe some of these destinations are becoming increasingly popular for travelers outside of APAC. In Japan, what we're seeing for international travelers is a rising trend of slow tourism, where international visitors immerse themselves in local culture and traditions, and they are opting for longer stays. So yes, they're typically going to visit the big 3, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, but they're extending their stays and they're opting to move out of those 3 cities and experience life in kind of some of the tier 2 and secondary cities, and maybe even some of the rural areas. So they are extending their trips, having longer trips, and they are moving out of the big cities to experience some of the lesser known places in Japan. Vietnam is gaining in popularity due to an emergent boutique tourism sector. For example, eco-resorts, cultural tours, adventure and wellness experiences that appeal to travelers seeking meaningful travel experiences. In contrast, countries like Thailand and Indonesia are seeing a boom from international travelers inbound that are right into adventure tourism. So they're attracting thrill seekers looking for adrenaline pumping experiences in natural settings. Next, I thought it'd be interesting to share some of the top 10 trending APAC cities. So not countries, but actual cities. And I think the thing that I want to highlight here is this list is made up of the cities that are seeing the biggest year-on-year growth in interest on Tripadvisor, whether it's searches, whether it's bookings, whether it's in discussions and forums. These are the cities that are experiencing the biggest year-on-year growth. And this is for an audience of both APAC and international travelers looking at APAC cities. 8 of the 10 on this list are what we would call secondary or tier 2 cities. This suggests a propensity to wanting to find alternatives to the bigger cities and finding cities that offer authenticity, a slower pace, and culturally rich and scenic destinations. And lastly, the top 10 attractions viewed by non-APAC travelers or international travelers looking at APAC attractions. Again, I'm not going to go through the list. We'll see that amusement parks are prominent, but there are a number of new additions to this list. The Bangla Road in Phuket, the Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine in Kyoto, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, Khao San Road in Bangkok, and the Cu Chi Tunnels outside of Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Pre-COVID, again, shopping and beaches reigned. Now, more and more travelers are drawn to immersive experiences that provide an insight into the culture and history of the destination that they're visiting. So, moving on. With experiential travel now the new normal, it's important we look deeper into this segment and how it's likely to evolve over the coming years. I think I've been able to demonstrate pretty clearly that experiential travel is it's very prominent and it's shaping the way travelers are thinking about the type of destinations they want to visit and the things that they want to do when they're in those destinations. But how is this likely to evolve over the coming years? So earlier this year, Tripadvisor launched Trendcast, which is a global deep dive into themes and trends that we see emerging from millions of reviews, searches, bookings, and traveler forums and discussions on our site. This is the ultimate pulse check for experiential travel on where travelers are now and what will be driving them forward for years to come. This year was the first time we've run this, but we're going to, because this has become such a transformative area of travel, this is something we're going to be repeating on an annual basis. So for this year's Trendcast 2025, there were 14 trends identified globally in the report, but I'm going to focus on the top 5 trends that were most prominent for APAC travelers. And before I dive into the detail, I just want to emphasize a couple of key points. These aren't just trending destinations. These are broader cultural shifts. They're not just focused on 2025. These are long-term trends that we believe we are going to see over the next 1 to 3 years. And these are not created by AI. They're powered by real traveler searches, stories, bookings, and data. So the first trend is what we're calling investigative eating. Travel is now a delicious investigation into how our food is grown, sourced, and prepared. While we know farm to table is not new, like farm to table has been around for a few years now, what we're seeing now is its next evolution. Travelers are taking a closer look respectfully and getting a first-hand understanding of where our food comes from and how it's made. And if you look at some of these year-on-year increases in terms of mentions and searches on Tripadvisor, 105% increase in farm to table, 120% increase in local produce, 65% increase in food sustainability searches and mentions. And then bookings for culinary experiences on our site have risen, double-digit growth year on year. Wine tours is one that's mentioned here, but there's many others where we're seeing significant growth for culinary-related experiences. And just to kind of delve a little bit deeper into how this particular trend and niche is evolving, in Thailand, there's a large cattle farm called Farm Chok Chai, which offers guided farm tours and hands-on activities. So you can go to this cattle farm, you can wander around and you can see all of the different animals and interact with the different animals. You can actually do some hands-on activities like milking cows and making ice cream. And then once you've finished your tour and you've done all of the different activities on the farm, you then end the day with a meal at their steakhouse, known for its tender farm-raised beef. Hopefully it wasn't one of the cows that you saw earlier in the day, but regardless, a visit here combines agri-tourism, farm education, and a true staycation experience. Did you see what I did there? Staycation. Anyway, moving on. Or travelers are joining local fishermen in Japan on their daily runs to catch that night's dinner, or learning to make kimchi in Korean homes. What's more, farm stays are moving beyond providing just those rustic chic vibes, where now travelers are timing their visits and their stays at these farm stays to coincide and take part in seasonal events like rice harvesting or fruit picking. Indigenous food experiences are on the rise too. We're seeing this very prominent on Tripadvisor, from learning about bush tucker from Aboriginal guides in Australia to harvesting wild rice with local communities in Kerala. The next trend we're calling beauty voyages. This is where beauty-minded travelers are making trips out of far-off treatments, seeking out local rituals and cutting-edge new technologies. It's around wellness and trying to stall the aging process as much as possible. It's the next evolution of self-care. Travelers are centering entire trips around beauty treatments that you either can't get anywhere else or that you can't get anywhere near at the same price as some of these destinations. We care about the ingredients in our products, and we want to learn about skincare routines around the world that make us look and feel better. We'll travel to places like Morocco, where hotel spas incorporate centuries-old ingredients such as black soap and argan oil. Or South Korea, where ginseng and snail mucin are as common as daily sunscreen. Yes, apparently snail mucin is a thing. I haven't heard of it before, but that has lots of mentions on Tripadvisor. Beauty travel is viewed as part of the global shift towards self-improvement, wellness, longevity, and experiential tourism. This trend is set to expand with social media and influencer culture, new beauty innovations, and accessible travel packages, making it easier and more appealing for travelers to invest in beauty and wellness experiences around the world. I mean, look at these numbers, these year-on-year increases in views, searches, and bookings for beauty treatments and experiences, 389% for head spas, 433% increase in searches and mentions for red light therapy. And then bookings on Tripadvisor, skincare experiences up 400% year on year. This is no longer a niche category. This is becoming very mainstream. The next trend, water culturalism. Water's always been our happy place, but our connection with it is going much deeper and shifting into social playgrounds and adventure frontiers. Ancient bathing rituals like hammams and onsens have brought people together for centuries, but that scene is evolving. In South Korea and China, modern bathhouses are becoming the ultimate hangout for Gen Z and millennials. Even traditional water activities are being reimagined. Dive operators like the original diving company are transforming underwater adventures into shared conservation missions. No longer is it just about doing some diving and looking at some colorful fish or some colorful coral. You can now go on these underwater conservation missions where you're planting coral in the Philippines, or you're tracking seahorses off Mozambique, or you're helping to build reef highways in Fiji. Holy bathing ceremonies and rituals are seeing a spike in interest from APAC travelers. For example, the Kumbh Mela festival in India and Songkran in Thailand. These festivals and rituals and ceremonies are no longer just for locals. International travelers, people from outside of those countries are traveling to those destinations so that they can participate and watch and learn about these very famous and historical rituals and ceremonies. Again, look at the numbers on the slide. 115% increase in searches and mentions of wellness retreats, 144% increase for traditional and holy bathing rituals, 40% increase for thermal spas and hot springs, and then bookings on Tripadvisor for things like kayaking, sightseeing cruises, etc., are seeing double-digit growth year on year. The fourth trend that is super popular for APAC travelers, we're calling dynamically sensorial. So as people look for new ways to escape, We're turning to fully immersive experiences that surprise the five senses. The old vacation playbook of find a beach, sit on the beach, read a book, repeat the next day, isn't quite doing it anymore. As post-pandemic travelers, we're seeking deeper connections with our surroundings and with ourselves. What we want is visceral, the gritty massage of sand between the toes, the sound of tide pool bubbles, the smell of citrus orchards, and yes, precious hours away from our screens. And the travel industry is starting to get it. Hotels, spas, and cultural venues are delivering immersive experiences that tap into every sense. Take forest bathing in Japan, where guided experiences in forests focus on activating all five senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and even taste. Luxury properties in Bali and Chiang Mai are layering forest bathing, foraging, and local medicinal plant workshops into holistic wellness journeys for transformative personal enrichment. Dining in the dark or dining blindfolded is gaining in popularity, where darkness heightens every flavor and texture. And the last trend we're calling nano neighborhoods. Instead of maxing out their itineraries, travelers are going deeper into single destinations, taking it one block at a time. Over-tourism and a hunger to have real, authentic experiences are driving us to zoom in on single neighborhoods or even single streets to find the stuff you can't get in the guidebooks. We're plotting new routes to up-and-coming areas like Katong, Juchiat in Singapore, where we're seeing a 97% increase in searches, mentions, and views on those destination pages. Ari in Bangkok, seeing a 100% year-on-year increase in views, mentions, searches. And Yongkang Street in Taipei, 72% increase. Each of these neighborhoods offers tight-knit, locally driven immersions where visitors can experience unique crafts, food, and heritage on a smaller, more personalized scale. So, what do you do with this information? What are the key takeaways? Well, in a rapidly evolving market, excuse me, travel industry leaders who embrace this insatiable appetite for authentic, immersive experiences will be best positioned for sustainable growth. You've got to help travelers find meaning. So firstly, curate, don't just offer. Build travel packages rooted in storytelling, local engagement, and wellness. Design offerings for the younger, rising middle class, not just the urban elites. Partner with your local communities. Invest in authentic, sustainable, and ethical travel. And lastly, we haven't really covered this too much, but this one's really important too. Leverage user-generated content or real traveler stories to bring your destination or your business to life. In this world of influencers and AI, demand for real and authentic content from real, relatable people has never been higher. Leverage it, like source it and leverage it. So those who move beyond conventional tourism to deliver genuinely meaningful experiences will not only capture the hearts, minds, and wallets of APAC travelers, but you'll also help shape the future of global travel itself. I thought I'd share a few recent examples of where some of these trends are already in action and being brought to life. Firstly, the Hong Kong Tourism Board. There's a Tourism is Everywhere campaign that was running recently. I'm not sure if it's still going, but I found it really interesting and really tapped into the trends that we're seeing, where they were showcasing, Hong Kong's citywide living culture and showcasing people first exploration beyond the famous landmarks. And it was really all about getting into those nano neighborhoods and some of these areas that aren't the traditionally famous and iconic Hong Kong landmarks that people might otherwise know. In Vietnam, the ministries of trade and tourism are working together with the travel industry to promote local artisans and craftspeople. There's multiple goals with this campaign. Firstly, they want to provide travelers with the immersive experiences that they demand. Secondly, they're promoting the businesses and products of these often forgotten local artisans and businesses. And thirdly, it's very important to them to keep these culturally significant traditions alive. So by doing this promotion, they are, they're making sure that these remain prominent and popular, and it's keeping these traditions alive and hopefully being passed on from generation to generation. The next one, the Sharjah collection, has launched a new property, Nomad, which is an off-grid trailer experience in the mountain valleys of Kalbar that emphasizes digital detox and nature immersion, no Wi-Fi. And this fits into that dynamically sensorial trend that I was talking about earlier. And lastly, grocery store tourism. Yes, it's a thing, is being integrated into tourism board marketing and tour operator and hotel offerings. It's seen as both a cultural adventure and an authentic way to experience daily life, local flavors, and culinary habits in a city. It's part of the investigative eating trend that I mentioned earlier. I saw this firsthand recently when I was in Tokyo and I visited 7-Elevens and Family Marts, and you could see tourists in there stocking up on the local snacks and produce and so forth. So lastly, I'd like to close with this quote from the late Anthony Bourdain, written back in 2007. Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart. But that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. Hopefully, you leave something good behind. I think these words are even more relevant today than they were back in 2007. And I think they perfectly sum up the movement in travel that's happening right now. Thank you so much. It's been a privilege being able to share this information with you today. I really hope there's been something in there of interest and something of value that you can take away and potentially incorporate into your businesses or into your strategies. I do want to share that if you are interested in getting a full copy of that Tripadvisor Trendcast report, feel free to scan this QR code and you just need to fill out a few details and we will send that out to you. And I will also make this presentation available after today as well, if anyone's interested in getting a copy of the presentation. So thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I'll hand it back over to Paul.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Really fantastic presentation. Actually, a lot of things in your presentation I really enjoyed. I did laugh at your jokes. I know some of it's difficult. Like you're sitting there, you're making some jokes, and very hear crickets. But I was laughing here, so just want to let you know that.
That's good to know.
But yeah, some of those things that you shared really did resonate with myself. Grocery store tourism. I really didn't think that was a term, but actually something that I was telling someone the other day that whenever I go to a destination, like the one place I'd like to see is the grocery store, right? Because it really gets to see what that local culture is, what the food is, how it's different. So I think that is kind of in line with myself and my preferences, and so it's really interesting to see that. I did have a question regarding your trends cast. So the next
Yes.
one for 2026, when do you plan to release that version?
I would expect that will be released in the first quarter of 2026, probably closer to February, March.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was asking you is is sustainability, do you see sustainability still sort of an important thing when people are going on to TripAdvisor? Is sustainability a preference that they're really that's important, a priority for a lot of travelers when they're looking at destinations?
Absolutely. It's I think in most travelers' minds these days, it's almost expected now. Like, yes, we still see a lot of mentions for it, and it is part of our user survey where we ask users how important sustainability is, and whether how many of them would choose a sustainable option, or a whether it's a hotel or a business or whatever that clearly identifies as having sustainable practices versus those that don't. Over 95% would choose that, the one that has the sustainable option. So it is still very much at the forefront of people's minds. But I think also these days it's more expected than kind of, having to look for those types of options.
So travelers were surprised they went to your property or did your activity and you weren't sustainable. So it's more of the it's expected that's already there, right? So
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
okay. All right. We have some time for some questions from the audience. So feel free to drop some questions into the Q&A as I showed everyone at the beginning of the webinar. But I did get some questions earlier that were sent in during registration. I think the first question was already answered, asking about younger generations, Gen Z and millennials leading the shift in how they preferences differ from older demographics. I believe that was already shared by Scott in the presentation. But I'll go to the second question here. What role does technology such as AI, AR, VR, or data-driven personalization play in creating deeper, more seamless experiences?
I think it can absolutely play a part. And I think, again, the more that you can learn about the traveler and your potential audience, the more that you can curate experiences and trips and itineraries that are going to resonate very highly with travelers. Like, knowing as much as you can, and kind of really understanding, using the various tools that are out there to understand the type of travelers that are interested in your business or your destination, or that you want to target to come to your destination. It's really important so that the marketing messages that you're putting out there actually, resonate, and ensure that travelers see that the type of things that you're offering align with their interests and their passions and the type of things that they want to do when they're traveling. So I think it is incumbent on our industry to, be very clear about the type of audience that they are trying to attract to their business, and then using these various tools to be able to kind of segment, and so that when you do market, you're marketing, the right messages and the right products and services to the right people.
Uh, regarding AI is a big subject. I mean, is what's are you guys working with AI? Are you integrating within the Tripadvisor ecosystem?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's a couple of independent studies that have come out recently that show that Tripadvisor is clearly the number one cited source for travel related information across all LLMs. So just without doing anything, just because we have such a large user base and because our site is full of user generated content, TripAdvisor is the most, as I said, the most sourced material for LLMs in terms of the responses that they're providing for travel related queries. In addition to that, yes, we are also partnering with some of these larger LLMs, whether it's whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Perplexity. We have relationships with them where we are working on having TripAdvisor also integrated, more seamlessly into their platforms. So yeah, more to come on that space, but we are very active. I think recently we made a pretty significant announcement as part of our Q3 earnings, where we said, and we've restructured our company to essentially focus on two main areas. One is experiences. So up until now, we've been running TripAdvisor Experiences and Viator as two separate brands. We're bringing those together, and we're going to really double down and focus on experiences moving forward. And we're restructuring our company to allow us to do that more effectively. And the second is obviously AI, and leaning into whether it's partnerships with some of the LLMs, whether it's doing an even better job at making sure that Tripadvisor information is getting out there as as part of travel-related responses for those using AI tools, and a bunch of other areas where we're looking to to leverage AI. So yeah, extremely important from a Tripadvisor perspective.
Well,
But
that
we
makes
actually see it as a good thing because, as I said, because our site is like it's the biggest site in travel for user generated content. It just means that a lot of the information on our site is being referenced and sourced by the LLMs and kind of being produced in responses to travel related queries.
well, I guess that means for the stakeholders really make sure to have your property on TripAdvisor. And well, I mean, in that regard, I mean, I know this is moving away from that, but I mean, is there any recommendations you would say to, let's say, a property or an attraction or experience about how to sort of, make sure that you are being recognized by those LLMs and being searched. If someone's saying, for myself, I'm doing a 1 day trip to Bali or 2 day trip to Bali, right? How do I make sure that my property or my experience or my, activity is hopefully get pulled into that sort of query?
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking from a TripAdvisor perspective, hopefully everyone on this webinar, like if they've got some kind of business within our industry, has a listing on TripAdvisor. So I would be encouraging them, like knowing that TripAdvisor is being sourced so regularly by the LLMs, make sure that the information on your listing is always updated. Make sure, I would be just encouraging you to collect reviews, because the more reviews and content that you're able to generate for your business that sits on TripAdvisor, the more likely it is that that's potentially going to be referenced and used. So yeah, encourage reviews, respond to reviews. That's another thing that's super important. A lot of businesses get reviews on TripAdvisor and they kind of scan through them, but they don't necessarily respond to those reviews. Responding lifts part of our algorithm in terms of how we rank and sort and all the rest of it has a lot to do with the number of reviews you get and the fact that you actually do respond to those reviews. So if you are responding, it's going to help you in terms of your listing on TripAdvisor and where you appear. So yeah, just really work on your listing on TripAdvisor to make sure that it's got as much content on there as possible, as much new, relevant content, and it can only help in terms of the possibility of making sure that that gets referenced when relevant queries are made via LLMs.
Yeah, and then I guess, going back to the presentation, then, if your property or offering sort of aligns with some of the trends, some of the things that you've shown, I guess, make sure that's prominently displayed and have the content there around sort of the trends, because that's what people are looking for. And then, of course, it's going to be picked up by the LLMs or search queries of any kind.
Correct.
All right. Well, I think we're just about it. I don't see any questions from the audience, but it said, if you have any questions afterwards, you guys go back. I know there's, this is up on our YouTube page, so anybody ever has any questions, feel free to send it to Potter. Happy to send it over to Scott, and Scott can then answer you directly. Make sure that we can respond back to you with an email address and your name and organization. Happy to send any questions over to Scott. TripAdvisor is one of our most valuable partners, and we love working with them. So, they always have great data and great insights into the industry. So, thank you so much for Scott for sharing that with us this afternoon here in Bangkok. Really, really, very, great stuff that you showed today. So, thank you so much, Scott.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Scott. Well, you can take off, and I'll do a quick wrap up here. Once again, thanks to Scott and thanks to our valuable partner there at TripAdvisor for the really a great presentation today on experience-driven travel, trends and insights on what APAC travelers are truly seeking in 2025 and beyond. As Scott said, we will be sharing the presentation with everyone after this webinar. Just give us about a few days, and we'll send out a thank you email with just some of the points about the presentation and also the video recording as well. Just a note for our upcoming activities. So looking into 2026, we do have our PATA Annual Summit in May 11th to 13th in Guangzhou and Pohang Korea. It's our first time. Our event will be in two cities. The two cities are very close to each other, so don't be too alarmed about that. But it is shaping up to be a great event. We will be there in just a couple of weeks for a site visit. And once we come back from that, hopefully have more information about the event. So please do stay tuned. Keep an eye on our website or subscribe to our newsletter or our social media pages where we will update you on those activities happening at the events. And later on during the year, of course, Pada Travel Mart 2026, which will be happening in Kuching, Sarawak, Malaysia. I've been to Sarawak many times. Beautiful destination. Excited to get back there again, especially for the food. So please do, if you're a buyer or seller, you can register today. We do have some early bird discounts available. So if you're interested, why wait? Sign up today. Just go to our website at pada.org. There's the email address, my email address. If you have any questions about our upcoming activities, about today's webinar, feel free to email me, or for any information, feel free to visit our website at www.pod.org. Once again, thank you to Scott and the team at Tripadvisor for today's webinar. Thank you, as always, to our executive board members, our board members, our life members, our partners, our members and chapter members for the continued support of the association, without which none of this is possible.